What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, I bought another collection. So let's check out these books. I'll talk about what I paid, we'll go over the keys, what I'm planning on getting graded, what I think everything is worth, all of it. So let's get into this. Right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I think this was a pretty unique collection that I picked up this time, partly because this was not one where I went out and met somebody in person, went through the books, picked up the collection, that kind of thing. This was one that I bought on Instagram. I bought it from a live claim sale. But before we get into this collection, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, the Comic Book Presser. A bunch of the books that are part of this collection are going to be going to him first before they are sent off to CGC. If you've watched my CGC unboxings on this channel, almost all of those books were pressed and cleaned by the Comic Book Presser before getting graded by CGC. He does incredible work on all kinds of books. I've had him press Golden Age books from 1940 all the way up to moderns from 2020, Silver Age magazines, and everything in between. He has very reasonable prices and is also a CGC certified dealer and will pass his savings on to you if you have him submit your books through him. If you're looking to get some books pressed and clean, make sure to check him out on Instagram and through his website. His contact information is in the details of this video. All right, we're back, so let's talk about this collection. So like I said, I picked this one up on Instagram. It's actually a pretty unique case. I bought these from Flip Mode Comics on Instagram. They were actually selling the collection for someone else who had recently bought the collection from, I believe, the original owner. And so they had that collection. It was predominantly magazines, but it also had some comics. And these aren't your normal magazines. These are Vampirella, Eerie, Creepy, that kind of thing. A bunch of Frazetta covers, just awesome covers, some really cool stuff. But then there were also a bunch of gold key Star Trek issues that were part of this. Now, the tough part with buying a collection like this is you can't really look at it. I mean, they can show it on video, but you can't really see very well what's in it. And I'll show you, these are the types of bags that this collection was in. Stuff like this. You know, these are these original bags that are probably like 40 years old, you know? And so you really couldn't see very clearly what was in these, and they clearly had never been opened, or not never, but hadn't been opened for probably 30 or more years. The tape was basically glue when I was trying to take it apart on the bags. It was just, you could definitely tell that these had not been opened for quite a while. So it was definitely one of those things where you're kind of taking a risk. You know, you're not quite sure what you're going to get. But let's check out these books. I filmed some of the unboxing of this one so we could see these books come out of these boxes together. And then we'll come back, we'll go over the key issues, or the ones that I'm going to plan on getting graded. We'll talk about costs, we'll talk about what I think the value is, all that kind of stuff. So let's check out those books. All right, so here we have the box. This is the collection that I picked up. I bought this on Instagram, so it was all shipped in one box. You see our beautiful Christmas tree that is in the background. But I thought I would go through the unboxing of this on the video. I thought it'd be kind of fun, so we can kind of flip through these books, see what is in here. So what I'll do is I'll cut into this box, then I'll kind of like mount the camera so that you can see what's in here, and we can take a look at this together.
A few moments later.
All right, so you can see how these were packaged in here. Obviously, shipping a collection is always risky. There's risk of damage to the books, that kind of thing, because it's a lot of books at once. It's a very heavy box. But let's see, we had this box on the top that has some books in it. I'm guessing this is probably the, oh wow, it's actually packaged differently than I thought. So I thought they were gonna ship just like the whole, I thought they were going to ship like the whole long box or whole short box in this one box, but that's not how it's done. It's all broken up into individual boxes, which is great, meaning they're in likely much better condition. Obviously, there's a little ding to this corner here. We'll see what's in this one. Hopefully not the really expensive book, but then we have all these other individuals that are in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more boxes. So we'll open these up and we'll go through each one. All right, so let's check out these books. Open the first one here. Okay, so we've got Vampirella in this one. Like I said, this collection was mostly magazines. Some pretty cool ones, including some great Frazetta covers, that kind of thing. So first we've got Vampirella 25. There you go. 24. 23, it's a pretty cool cover. 22, and it's some of these they're more like square bound, others aren't. Here's a cool one. Here's 21. That's an awesome skull cover. A lot of these are in pretty nice condition, it looks like so far. So 20. And here we've got 19. This one is really expensive and high grade. I don't know what type of grade this one will be. It looks pretty nice. There's maybe a little bit of like staple push through, but in general, it looks like a really solid copy. It's interesting they all have the prices that this person paid on them. So there's 18. I really like this one. This one, it's not an expensive book, but it's such a cool cover. It looks like a Frazetta almost. But 17. And 16. 15. You have a lot of these, like, you call them like Egyptian type themes or something like that for these Vampirella covers. There, and no 14. 14 was missing, and I knew that. So 13. Here's issue 12. I'm just counting down. I've got issue 11. I really like this one. I think this one's a Frazetta, but I'm not sure, and I don't think this one is signed by him. But this is an awesome one, and yeah, that's not a nick or anything. That's part of the cover. This one looks like it's in pretty high grade. I definitely have bags and boards for all of these. There's 10. And then there is number 9. It's a pretty cool cover. Number 8. And here's a Frazetta. This is definitely a Frazetta. Number 7. I love the Sabretooth cover. You got the Frazetta signature down here. That one looks like Frazetta. 7. And we've got 6. Definitely more cartoony style. And 5. This is also Frazetta. This is a pretty expensive book in the run, and it looks like I haven't seen these, so it looks really nice. This one may be worthwhile for grading. It'll be easier to see outside of the bags, but that one is definitely going to be tempting. All right, so now the next box. Let's see what's in this one. All right, we're starting with Creepy in this one. So there are some Frazetta covers in Creepy too. This is one of them. You can see a signature right there. Cool vampire cover. So Creepy number 5. This is a pretty, I'm almost certain this is a Frazetta. This is a pretty cool werewolf cover, and also a pretty expensive book in higher grade. It's definitely got some spine wear. I'll take a look at it, but Frazetta signature's right down here. So issue 4. Issue 3 is a Frazetta. This one's not as desirable, but it's issue 3. Issue 2, this is also a Frazetta. It's a really light signature down here. This one can be pricey. Definitely some wear on the spine on this one. And then here's issue 1. This is definitely a key. This is not a high grade copy. I can't remember, maybe it looks like it's maybe in the 5s or 6s, but Creepy number 1. And now we got some more Vampirella. So we've got issue number 4, which looks like a Frazetta. This is kind of his style, but it is not a Frazetta cover. Issue number 2. This one's pretty pricey and high grade, so we'll take a look. And there's issue number 1. This is definitely the biggest book in all of these boxes. I mean, the front looks pretty decent. There's definitely some, like, I don't know if that's staining or wear or something, like rubbing along the spine here. It looks pretty high grade. There's just some issues along the spine that make me a little nervous. But it does appear to be pretty high grade. We'll definitely take a close look at this one. Oh, and here's number 3. 3 is also a pretty expensive book in the run. I love this cover too. Not a Frazetta or anything, but I just think this white cover looks awesome. Looks pretty nice. So we'll definitely take a look at that one too. Then back to Creepy. We've got some annuals. Creepy Annual, 1972. Annual 71. Creepy Annual 70. Creepy Annual 69. And 68. And then we're back into some normal issues. So we've got Creepy issue number 10. Then this looks like a Frazetta. I think it is. Yep. Yeah, Frank Frazetta. Creepy issue number 9. It's a cool cover. This one is, I can't remember the issue. It's like Tales from the Crypt 42, I think. It has a very similar cover, but yeah, this one isn't a Frazetta, and it doesn't look like a Frazetta. But yeah, that's a cool cover. Issue 3. This one looks like a Frazetta, but I'm not sure if it is. Another cool werewolf cover. Yes, it is. Yeah, there's the signature down there. Looks pretty high grade too. So we'll take a close look at that one. What's that? That's issue 7. And we've got issue 6. This is a super cool cover too. I really like that one. A little lower grade. It's got some damage to this corner here. Yeah, that's a super cool cover. All right, so now here's the next box. I don't know if we'll go through all these here, but we'll definitely go over the keys later. All right, so these are flipped. There's also a bunch of Star Trek in this box. So here's issue number 5, and you can see it looks like they wrote the number on the cover, which kind of sucks, but decent condition copies. Issue 5, 6. Here we've got issue 2, which is lower grade, missing a little piece here and some tape. Issue 3, issue 4, looks pretty nice. And what's this? Issue, I think 36. Here is issue 41. Issue 40, I think this is issue 40. We've got 39, 38. This is 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, and 30. Then we've got some other types of magazines in here. We've got Sci-Fi Adventure magazine. I don't know what this other one looks like. Oh, and then Science Fiction magazine. Got this cool Marvel Super Action Punisher. Paid $60 for that one. I don't know if this book's worth $60. Then we got Science Fiction again. Science Fiction number 1, and I don't know what this other one is that's behind it. We'll take, maybe take a close look at that. Issue number 2, another issue number 1, issue number, and then a whole bunch of them. Issue number 4, and I'm not sure what all's in here. Oh, and then here's Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction, issue number 1. So a bunch of magazines. A little more obscure magazines, sci-fi magazines in this one. All right, so let's just go through one more box here. I've got a couple more, but I'll pull out keys. We'll talk about that after the video. And so starting with Vampirella again, we've got issue 26, 27. And again, these are, they're pretty solid condition copies. So it'll be interesting to see, like after I get a chance to look at them out of the bags, like what I think. 28. 29, 30, it's a pretty cool cover. 31, it's a pretty cool cover too. I like that one. And it looks, looks really nice. Like hardly even any color rub on the back. Let's see, is there like, I don't know. It looks really, really nice. There's 31, 32, 33, 34. I think this one's got a little value to it. This one unfortunately has you can see it's got a stain down in the corner. I think that's the first one I've seen with a stain. 35. These almost look like they're in like what they would have been shipped in. It's like these bags are really, it's like they're like homemade bags or something. I don't know. 36, it's a pretty cool cover. 37, 38, 39, another pretty cool cover, the skulls and everything. Again, super high grade. Like, I don't even see a spine. Here on the back, I see a couple. See a couple spine ticks on the back, but wow. This is like, these are easily 9s. The tough thing is these books don't always have value unless you're at like a 9.6, 9.8. 40, or not value, but value for grading. They have value regardless, but value for grading. So 42 and 43. Yeah, again, super high grade. copies. So yeah, this will be cool to check these out individually. But all right, so those are the 4 boxes. There's 2 more boxes here, but what I'm gonna do is I will then, flip the camera around, we'll go and we'll talk about the key issues, everything, and kind of the value side of this collection. All right, we're back. So you got to see how that was shipped to me, which I was actually really impressed with. I was nervous about having this volume of books being shipped because I didn't know if they would get slammed around because they're so heavy, and if you would get a lot of damage, because they were supposed to be pretty high grade copies, and so that was definitely a concern. Now this total collection was around 140 books, something like that. It was Vampirella issues 1 through 50, except for issue 14, Creepy issues 1 through 10, Eerie issues 2 through 10, and then some other books thrown in. Then it was also Star Trek, almost a complete run from issues 2 through about 41. There are a couple issues missing in there. So a lot of cool stuff that was part of this one, but quite a few books that I'm planning on sending off to CGC, because when I started getting these out, I mean, you couldn't, like I showed these bags, like you couldn't really tell much through these, you can see like what these bags look like, but man, I was really impressed when I started taking these books out. So let's go through the books. I'm going to talk about what grades I have them at right now. And these are all the ones that I'm planning on sending in to get graded. So I'm not going to go over everything, just the ones I'm planning on getting graded, which is quite a few. So let's start with Star Trek, because that was the biggest surprise of all of this for me. The Star Trek books were talked about during the sale, but it was basically just, it's like, these aren't bad grades, these are decent copies of these books. And they said it was almost complete from like 2 to 40, but you still don't really know what that's worth. It's like, could it be like they're $10 or $20 a book? Are there some really high grade ones? Because the Star Trek run with Gold Key, unless you get really high grade copies, they don't have a ton of value. But these were really high grade copies. So the average grade is probably an 8.5. And there are some that are higher than that. I mean, this was incredible. The fact that these books were in these for like 30 years, whatever, just stood up in a long box or however they were being stored. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible the grades that they're in. So first one that's going to be getting graded is issue number 3. Now, the one tricky thing with these is that the original owner wrote the issue number on almost every single book, and he wrote it in pen. I'm not sure how much they're going to ding me, if they'll ding me at all for it. I'm hoping they won't hit me much, but that's one thing I'm a little worried about, that how it might impact some of the really high grade copies. This one I had at a 7.5 to an 8. Super nice copy of this one. I mean, you can see just a little bit of spine wear, that kind of thing, but really nice copy. Then we had issue number 6. I have this one as an 8 to an 8.5. And so, I mean, they just, like I said, high grade copies. I had issue number 8. This is an 8.5 to a 9. Then we've got issue number 9. This one I have at a 9.0. I mean, look at the colors on this. You would never, I just can't get past these bags. You would never know that with these bags, how amazing the colors and everything in condition is with these books. But man, like, just check this thing out. It's got a little bit of like a stacking curl, but that'll press out. And just a few little spine ticks. I mean, just check this thing out. The colors are just incredible on these copies. Just awesome. So yeah, so this one I have is a 9.0. And you can see why the original owner wrote the issues on the cover, because Gold Key doesn't put them on the cover. They're only on the interior. And so that was how he was keeping track of it. Now this one I really hope they don't ding me too much for the pen. This is issue number 13. This book, potentially 9.6. I have it as a 9.496. If they hit me for the pen, I think even still like a 9.92. I mean, and at a 9.6, this book is like $1,200. I mean, it's crazy. This is, I believe, the nicest copy of all the Star Trek issues. This one is just stunning. I mean, just an amazing copy that it survived all that time in those bags. And believe me, I was like, when I saw that, you see, you got like just like a little bit of like roughness down on that edge. Holy cow. This book is incredible. So yeah, number 13, I'm hoping they don't ding me too much for it, you know, but even if they do, I'm still fine sending it in. I think I'll be fine, you know, because then it's still $250, $300, and I wasn't expecting much from these Star Trek books, so it's all a plus to me. Then we have 18. I have this one at a 9294. I mean, again, you can see the little stacking curl on the edge over here, but just incredible. I mean, the colors are incredible. These things are, they're amazing. So that's 18. Then we've got issue 21. I have this one as a 9 to a 9.2. Then issue 23. I have this one as a 9 to a 9.2 as well. You know, and it's always possible maybe I do a little better with them, but you know, there's little things that need to be cleaned up. That's why they've got to get pressed. It's hard to, you can see some little like denting and things up here, but pressing should definitely be able to take care of these. Like I said, these will be going off to the comic book presser before I get them graded. So then what was this one? And then this is 27. I have this one as a 9.2 to a 9.4. And with these books, they really do have to be that type of grade to justify getting them graded. The value just really isn't there unless they're very high grade copies. So I have this one at a 9.2 to a 9.4. And the last Star Trek one that I'm getting graded is this one right here, issue number 40, which I have as a 9.4. Again, let's just take a close look at these, because it's amazing to me that, you know, you've got a couple spine ticks basically. And so that's why it was really fun for me to go through these, and when you're taking them out of those bags, because it was just a surprise for me. I never knew which one was going to come out as, you know, an 8 or an 8.5, which doesn't really justify grading. It's still a great book, still has value, but doesn't get to the point where it's worth sending in and spending the money for pressing and grading and all of that. And then you've got, you know, these books, every once in a while you'd pull one out and I'd start looking at it in the light and I'm like, oh man, this one looks good. And then I was nervous flipping them over, because every once in a while I'd have one that looked just stunning on the front, and you flip it over and there's like a little crease in the corner or something. And so it's like, oh, it's down to an 8 or a 7.5 or something like that. But yeah, just an incredible set of books. And like I said, I mean, these are the ones that are I'm going to be sending in for grading, you know. And how many total was this? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9 books here that I'm going to send in to get graded just from the Star Trek ones. But it doesn't mean the other books aren't great too. I mean, like I said, the average grade is probably about an 8.5. I think the lowest is probably like a 6, and it was because it had a pop staple. But like everything else, I mean, it's like 7.5 or higher, and average higher than that. Because sometimes even at like when I thought it was like an 8.59, I didn't think it was worthwhile to send in, because, you know, it's like maybe it's worth $100. It costs $65 to get pressed, cleaned, and graded, and then it's like, you know, I might as well just sell it for 20 or something like that. But yeah, I was just blown away by those books. It was awesome. So now let's go over the magazines, because there's a bunch of magazines here too that I'm considering sending in for grading. Now, I wanted to talk about the magazine side a little bit, because the tricky part with magazines is the turnaround time. So the turnaround time for magazines at CGC, if you don't do walkthrough, like if you do walkthrough, they tell you it's like 4 days, but I did walkthrough and it took a month. Then I've heard if you do standard, which says like 28 days, it takes like 3 months. You just like multiply that number by a large number. But if you do the standard, not standard, but like the economy submission, the regular submission, it's like 258 business days. That means if I don't want to pay those higher prices, which for a lot of these, it's not justified to pay the higher price for getting these graded, I'm not going to get these books back for over a year. And I'm going to do it. You know, it'll be a surprise when I get those books back like a year or a year and a half from now, whenever they eventually get graded. But it's definitely something that's going into that consideration on if I'm just going to sell them raw as a lot or something like that, or if I'm going to get it graded. It's got to really be worth it to me to get it graded on the magazine side to end up sending those in. Now, there are a ton of awesome covers in here, and I'm going to start with the ones I'm considering getting graded from Erie. Now, I have been also thinking about just selling the entire Erie lot as just one raw lot, the entire Creepy lot as one raw lot, instead of dealing with sending just a few issues in, because it'll take so long, and I think I'd probably, the lot would sell better if I put these books in it. But let's take a look at this first one. This is one of my favorite covers from the run, if not my favorite. This is Eerie number 3. This is a Frank Frazetta cover. I have this one at a 7.5 to an 8. It's a really stunning copy. I think there, if I remember, there's just a little bit of damage on the back that held it back from, you know, like if this one was in the 9s, then no question I'd get it graded, but 7.5 to an 8, I think graded value is like $150. And so I might just try to sell it as a lot and not deal with that turnaround time. But yeah, just amazing, amazing cover. Then the next one is Eerie number 4. This one is not a Frazetta cover, but just a really cool cover. I have this one at a 9.0. And, you know, you see with this dark cover, that's definitely a harder grade to get. You can see a few, you know, that's a dog hair. But you can see a few little spine ticks on this one. But in general, a very, very nice condition copy. So number 4, I have it valued about the same. And so that's why it's kind of a question if I want to send it in. Then we've got number 5. This is also a Frazetta cover. This is a cool one. I have this one at an 8.5 to a 9. Awesome dinosaur cover. So yeah, I mean, again, you can see just how nice these magazines are. And they were in the same type of bag. They were just different size bags. There was a different size bag for the magazines versus the comics, the Star Trek Gold Keys, but exact same style of bags. And they kept these books in incredible condition. I would say the magazines probably average a 7.5 or an 8 as well, with some that are definitely much higher than that. Then now there was this one here. None of the creepy books. I had one that I thought was a 9.6. And then I flipped it over and it had 2 big fingerprints on the back. It killed me. It was Creepy number 7. Incredible cover. I was so excited when I saw that. And then these 2 big thumbprints on the back cover, it's not like they're thumbprints that have probably been there for 30 or 40 years. They are permanently on the back cover, and I was so sad about that. But this collection also had Creepy Yearbook 1968, 69, 70, 71, and 72. The one that was actually in really pretty solid, they're all in good condition, but this is the one that holds the most value, is 1968. And I had this at a 8.5. And this is one of the less common of their yearbooks. The later ones are a little more common, but really solid copy. I mean, and maybe it does a little better, because if you remember from my magazine grading video, I got much higher grades than I was estimating on the magazines. And so what I think that they grade magazines a little bit easier because they're larger. Like there's more surface area for flaws, and so maybe one flaw doesn't equal minus 0.1 like it does on a comic. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of how it seemed when I got them graded, since I graded them the same way I grade comics, but then I was getting quite a bit higher grades, like a full grade at least higher than my estimates. And so it's one of those things where I'm hoping that's also the case with these, where then I get some additional value out of the books. But yeah, pretty cool one. And this is that cover, that Creepy number 7, that I thought was a 9.6 and then was just crushed. And it's such a cool cover with like a vampire or Dracula fighting a werewolf. Just awesome. But yep, that one, that's another one where it's like, do I want to sell all the yearbooks as a lot, or do I want to get that one graded? Now we're starting to get into a couple pricier books. First one here, I didn't even know this one was in the collection. And that's the thing, I couldn't look through it. It was just, you know, they're pulling out books and showing books and just kind of giving you a general idea what's in it. And this was Vampirella Annual number 1. This is like a 9, I think it's like a 9.0 to a 9.2. There's a little bit of, I don't know if I can get it to show through, a little bit of like color break along the spine, or wear, a rub. I don't know if it's color break or I'd call it rub along the spine, but I still think this one has a very solid shot at hitting the 9s. It is an incredible copy. It has just a little bit of what looks like maybe like a staple push through here. But man, this one, I looked at a couple copies that have been graded, and this is a stunner. This is a stunning copy. And so like I said, I have this one as a 9.0 to a 9.2, and yeah, awesome one. I was happy to see that book in there because I didn't even know it was part of this. Then, now we've got the biggest book that was in this collection. You saw it in the unboxing. This is Vampirella number 1. I have this one at a 6.5 to a 7. That's about a $1,400 book if it hits that number. And the tricky part for me, and I think I showed it in that video, was that I'm not sure how this stuff on the spine, it's like color rub. Yeah, there you go. Like you've got the normal spine ticks, that kind of thing, but it's like this, like these like dots that almost looks like staining, or maybe it's like color rub or something. And I don't know how it's going to hit the book, because from the front, this book is like an 8.5. It's a stunning book. But that spine is really, I think, gonna hurt it. And so I've got it at a 6.5 to a 7, but that's still a very expensive book. Then we've got Vampirella number 2. I've got this one at an 8 to an 8.5. This is not a Frazetta cover. Issue 1 is a Frazetta cover, but I've always liked this cover. I think this is a great one. Just whoever did the coloring for this one, I think did an incredible job. Really pops. So number 2. Then we've got number 3. This is a pretty big book. This is a 9 to a 9.2. They say this book is rare, but I've heard that was just something that somebody that had a whole bunch of copies like set that rumor out there, and so I don't know how rare it actually is. But the only real flaw on this book, and you know the white kind of hides things, but that I could see was down in this corner. There's just like, I don't know if it'll even show up. There's like a little ding down in this corner, and it's a small color break. And so that's why I have it as a 9 to a 9.2, but yeah, so I don't know if it'll come through or not. But it's a small color break that's kind of like about like this long. And yeah, on white, it's not really a color break, it's more like a fiber break, but I'm hoping pressing can, you know, hide it as much as possible. But I believe the interior cover isn't white, and so it shows up in there, if I remember when I was looking at it. But still, 9 to a 9.2 is a pricey book. About $400 just for that. So I'm excited. I was excited about that one, and excited that the grade looks real nice, and the potential that it does better than that. Then we've got Vampirella number 5. This is a Frazetta cover, another awesome dinosaur cover. This one, a lot of these magazines have this like little bit of, it's like wrinkling down on the bottom. And when I say these, I don't mean like the magazines in here. I mean magazines in general when I see them. It's hard to show up on camera, but maybe you can see it.
2,000 years later.
Right over here. There you go. I think you can probably see that there. And it's not really like a crease. I almost feel like it's something from the printer when they cut, because I've seen books with very high grades with that, and it's on the top and the bottom. But in general, this book is super clean. I have this one at an 8 to a 9.2. I'm okay with any of those grades. I wasn't real certain how they were going to hit it for that stuff on the bottom. But otherwise, I mean, this book is incredible. Just a couple spine ticks, almost no damage to this one. I always really like the green that's on here. I think it looks awesome. Then we've got Vampirella number 6. I actually didn't think this one was going to have the value that it did. You know, it's kind of this more cartoony cover. But this one I have is an 8.5 to a 9. I think it's probably a little harder to get this one in high grade because of the black around all the edges. And you can see it's got a few spine ticks, but overall a very, very nice copy of this book. So issue number 6. I don't know if I said 9, but that's issue number 6. Then we've got issue number 7. This is another Frazetta cover. Love the saber-tooth cover on this one. This one's awesome. I have this one as an 8 to an 8.5. It's a little lower grade than a lot of the other ones, but this one, because it is a Frazetta cover and a very famous one, this one holds quite a bit of value regardless. It's not crazy value. I think I have it as about $225, but enough that it's worth it to me to get this one graded. Then we've got number 8, another one that I didn't realize was going to have enough value to really justify, but I have this one as an 8.5 to a 9. And again, just another amazing cover. Now this one, I have this one as a 9.2, hoping it does a little better. But this is Vampirella number 10. This is a really stunning copy. There's this little mark here on the cover, but when I look close at it, it doesn't look like damage. It looks like it was something from printing, just like that the ink didn't come down right. But you can see how nice the spine and everything is on these books. Just incredible. But yeah, I have this one as a 9.2. And then this might be my new favorite cover in the entire run. This cover is incredible. I'm almost certain that, if I remember correctly, this is a Frazetta cover. This is issue number 11. I have this one as a 9 to a 9.2, and I I don't know. I love this cover. I love like she's got that scythe, you know, and it's just, I think this one's incredible. This is a really good one. And so issue number 11, like I said, 9-2 and 9-2. Now here's another one that I wasn't expecting this one to have the value to be worth grading, but it is such a high grade. This one I have as a 9.2 to a 9.4. This is issue number 12. And again, not a ton of money for it, around $200, give or take, but worth it to get graded. You know, they'll be gone for a while, but again, you can just see how clean these books are, just how incredible the condition is on these. And just all in those bags with no boards. Just amazing. All right, now here's one of the keys from the Vampirella run. This is issue number 16. Now, this one, I have a really wide grade range on this one. I have a 6.5 to a 9.6. I'm fine with anything on this one, but there was, actually, I don't know if I want to, I'll do it. I'll take this one out just so I can show you. Well, let's see if I don't want to handle it. So yeah, okay, it's going to show through. So there's this dent. It's almost like it's a stacking dent from the weight of books being stacked on it. It doesn't look like it breaks fiber. It doesn't look like it breaks color. And so it just depends if that can get out enough in pressing to not have an impact on the grade. If it does, like I said, I think this book is like a 9.6, which is, I think, like an $800 book. And this is the first meeting of Vampirella and Dracula. That's why this one is a key. But I mean, look at this thing. Even with the slight miswrap on the spine, so you can actually have the red there. Look how incredible that spine is. I mean, there's like that one spine tick right here, and I think one right here. I think I counted 3 spine ticks on this one, something like that. I mean, so yeah, so that's why I have it as a potential 9.6. Just an amazing book. And so that one, I'm definitely going to put an extra note, when I send it, where I'll be like, really, work on that edge there, because yeah, it's still a worthwhile book to get graded, even at a 6.5, but worth a lot more if it gets a 9.6. Then the last book here that I'm getting graded is Vampirella number 18. Another looks like, Dracula crossover. I have this one as a 9.2. This one is right on the edge of being worthwhile to get graded. This one is worth about $150 graded, but still, I think it's worth it. It's got, a few little spine ticks, and if I get lucky and I get higher grades than my estimates, then all the better, So, but yeah, Vampirella number 18. Now, I do have one more book here, and I just wanted to make a point about what I said in that video earlier. This is issue number 17. I said how much I love this cover, but I'm not getting it graded, even though I have it as a 9.294. The value just isn't there for this book at a 9.294. I mean, so that's what I mean. Like, sometimes they have to be super high grade copies, because then there's also a risk. Like, what if it doesn't get that grade? What if it gets damaged in shipping? What if something happens, and then it's just kind of like a total loss. And so I don't like to play right on that line of is it worth grading or not. But yeah, such a cool cover. I really, really like this one. I wish it was worth more. I really do, but unfortunately it is not. All right, so now about the pricing and everything. So when they had the lot up on their live sale, the price that they first had was $3,500. And you're taking a big gamble with these. I mean, they said that they were nice, but they hadn't opened these either. So they're looking at them through the bags, and it's everybody's best guess as to what it might be. And you don't really know until you take that really close look at it. And so my main consideration, and like I said, I wasn't even counting really the Star Trek books. I was not expecting how nice those books were going to be. So the main thing I was looking at was the Vampirella, the eerie, and the creepy. I knew it was like issues 2 through 10, 1 through 10, and about 1 through 50. And so I knew that the Vampirella 1, even if it got kind of like a lower end of the range, that it was probably a $1,400 book. So right there, that takes care of a big chunk of that cost. But then you don't really know what those other books are worth. And so I was kind of in my head, I was like, okay, there's probably about 130 or 140 books that are total as part of this. And I've got to account for, say, $1,500 or $1,600 more dollars, because the offer that I ended up making was $3,000, and that's what they accepted. So I got all these books for $3,000. And my goal isn't just to break even. My goal is to make a profit on the books. So I have to think like, what can I get for each one of those books on average if I buy them? And so my thought process was, if I can get each book for an average price of about $10 after I back out the Vampirella #1, then I think I'll be okay. Because that's the thing, like those Star Trek Gold Keys, they could have been worth $10 or less. I had no idea what I was getting there. The later Vampirella issues, so once you get into issues kind of like 20 and above, unless you get a 9.6, 9.8 type book, it's not really worth grading. And so the most you're probably going to get is somewhere in the $10 to $20 range for those books. Maybe you get 30 or something for a cool cover. But if you look at eBay, you look at those books, they just don't sell for all that much. And so I really was counting on the Frazetta covers that were part of Eerie, part of Creepy, and part of Vampirella. That's really what I was looking at. I was like, that's where I've got to make my money on this. And it turned out that these books were in better condition, or at least I think they are. They haven't been graded yet. So, but they appear to be in better condition than what I was kind of expecting. I was expecting them to be nice, but I wasn't really expecting them to be this nice. And then the big surprise was definitely the Star Treks, because what I've estimated approximately the value of all the books is about 10,000, maybe a little more than 10,000, 10,500. I've got a lot of books to get graded here. I've got 9 here, and then I don't know how many I showed on Vampirella.
A few moments later.
So then I have about 12 books. So about 20 books total get graded. So I'm going to have probably somewhere in the range of $1,200 to $1,500 in grading and pressing fees and all of that. So then I have approximate value of 10,500, back out 1,500 in fees. That gets me to 9,000, back out 3,000 in the initial cost. That's at 6,000. And so I think that seems pretty good for a collection buy, where you're kind of taking a little bit of a gamble, and you've got to put in all this work for grading and selling and all of that. So my estimate, at least right now, is that off of the $3,000 purchase, I'll be able to make about 6,000 minus selling fees. So probably somewhere in the range of, I don't know, 5,000 or 5,200, something like that. So that's my approximate estimates right now. That's how I came up with my numbers. Hopefully this kind of helps you if you're looking to buy a collection, because it could have gone the other way, where it just ended up being kind of mostly break even. I felt like my risk was pretty low because of the Vampirella 1, but I still wasn't sure if it was going to be something where I was more or less breaking even, or if I was going to be making some money on it. And the Star Trek books really helped push that up a little bit more than what I was originally expecting it to be. I was thinking I could probably get about $6,000 out of the collection, and the Star Trek books alone I think are going to be somewhere in the range of around $2,600, and if some of them grade a little on the higher end, maybe $3,000 or a little bit more. So those were a really big plus as part of this collection. So with all that, hope you enjoyed this video. I know this one was pretty long, but hopefully you saw some cool stuff, and in about a year and a half, I'll start getting those magazines back. I'll be sending these ones in quicker. And so that's kind of the other big plus with this, is that this will help me get back some of my initial investment quicker, as well as the Vampirella 1, because I'll probably do walkthrough with that. But then it's going to be a pretty long wait for everything else, which is the motivation for me to sell some of those other books raw. But hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.